If you're a fan of our How to Shoot series, you're in for a treat today. For years, I've shot the 35-85 combo. Can the 24-70 replace my beloved primes? Where are my prime lenses? I love my prime lenses. They're lightweight, sharp, fast, and compact. But when I'm freezing my toes off on the side of a mountain during a ski shoot, I sometimes can't change lenses fast enough. Enter the 24-70. This lens is a versatile powerhouse. In this video, I'll share why. I'll also compare it to other lenses like the 50mm and the 70-200 and give you some practical tips for getting the best shots with it. I'm Brenda Bergreen, here to share photography tips that complement Mark's gear reviews from our real-world experience as a husband and wife photography team. So why the 24-70mm lens? Well, this lens is the epitome of versatility. It's one of those lenses that you can take everywhere and know you're covered, whether you're capturing a wide landscape or a tight portrait. What I love most about this lens is its ability to zoom across a wide range of focal lengths, from 24mm, which is wide enough to capture those expansive scenes, to 70mm, which is perfect for tighter, more intimate shots, which makes this a great all-in-one lens for travel, events, and even weddings. It's a workhorse. The 24-70mm allows you to be ready without constantly adjusting your gear, which is why it's a go-to lens for many professional and amateur photographers. But let's compare the 24-70 to some other lenses. Let's talk about how it compares to some of my favorites like the 50mm and the 70-200. So first, the 50mm lens. 50mm has a great shallow depth of field and is perfect for isolating subjects. However, it's a fixed focal length, and that can be limiting if you want more flexibility in dynamic situations or more variety in your images. The 24-70, on the other hand, lets you easily adjust your composition on the fly without having to change lenses. Pro tip though, beware of zooming to frame. Some people just spin the zoom ring rather than intentionally picking a focal length and intentionally deciding on a framing. We'll talk more about that later when we talk through the tips on how to shoot with this lens, but let's talk about how it compares to the 70-200 lens, which is one of my favorites and fantastic for portraits. As much as I love it, it's a bit bulky and it's limiting if you're in tight spaces. In contrast, the 24-70 gives you flexibility of the zoom lens with a more manageable size, and it's a zoom lens that covers both wide and telephoto focal lengths so that you're getting the best of both worlds. However, a real world comparison that I might pick for the 24-70 is that I might take my 35, 50, and 85 prime lenses. The real deciding factor for me is if I want bokeh and if I'm shooting in low light. If the answer to both of those questions is no, then the 24-70 makes more sense for the ease of not having to change lenses. Otherwise, I need the low aperture of my prime lenses, or I need a low aperture zoom like the Sony 28-70 f2, which runs $3,000 versus the Sigma 24-70 f2.8, which is closer to $900. So cost might play into the decision. So let's get into some tips for shooting with the 24-70. How do we get the most out of this lens? Tip number one is to use the zoom range to tell a story. One of the best things about using a zoom lens is that you can use different focal lengths to convey different feelings and perspectives. At 24mm, you can show the vastness of a scene, and then at 70mm, you can zoom in to highlight a subject or create compression for more dynamic portraits. You might use it at 24 for an establishing shot or a scene setting shot, and then you'll get a clean isolated subject shot at 70mm. Finally, you'll capture some mid-range storytelling at 50mm. Tip number two is to be mindful of distortion at the wide end. If you're shooting at 24mm, you might encounter some distortion, especially shooting up close. So be mindful of how your subject is framed. Avoid getting too close to your subject, especially at the edges of the frame, to prevent them from looking stretched out. And keep your lens level and squared up to the scene for best results when it comes to distortion. Tip number three is to switch to a wider aperture for portraits. The 24-70 isn't known for producing extreme bokeh like the 50 or the 85mm lens, but you can still create beautiful background blur by opening it up to the 2.8 aperture if you're shooting with a version that has that aperture. The key here is to zoom in a bit and focus on your subject's eyes. This works especially well when you want that professional shallow depth of field look. Another tip to maximize bokeh is to get as close to your subject as possible with a background that's far away from your subject. And you'll get more bokeh at 70 millimeters than at 24. Tip number 4 is to stabilize for sharper shots. So the 24 to 70 is heavy enough to cause some slight handshake, especially at slower shutter speeds. So if you're shooting handheld, try to stabilize by bracing yourself against something or use a wider stance. If your camera has a built-in stabilization, make sure it's enabled. And tip number 5 is, even though it's versatile and allows us to get variety in our storytelling with different focal lengths, use it like a prime. Whenever I'm talking about zoom lenses, I always remind you to use it like a prime. Intentionally select the focal length you want, 50, 70, 35. Then move your body into position for effective framing. Standing stationary and just spinning the zoom ring to take pictures of different things won't elevate your skills the way that making intentional compositions will. This is why we often encourage beginners to try a prime lens. The constraints of learning various focal lengths and being constrained by that focal length is important when developing your photographic eye so that you can know the difference between the 50, the 35, the 85, and what focal length you want for any given situation. Which brings us to tip number 6. When we're talking about framing and composition, don't forget your composition techniques. Since I'm hounding you to use intentional composition, it's probably important that you use your composition techniques to maximize the effectiveness of your photos. So what is the impact you want your photo to have? How do you want it to feel to the viewer? Maybe you're filling the frame, even at a wide focal length, or maybe you're leaving white space even at 70 millimeters. Think about how you can use these composition techniques to make more interesting photographs. And then tip number 7 is don't forget to switch lenses when the time comes. We say it's an all-around shooter, and we say it's versatile, and we say it's all in one, but don't get stuck shooting the 24 to 70, assuming that it's actually your all-in-one lens solution. If you've only ever owned a mid-range zoom, it's time to try a prime, or a super wide angle, or a telephoto lens. A cheap 50 millimeter might be just what you need to mix it up and add some creativity to your shots. Now let's talk about why I initially resisted shooting with the 24 to 70. One reason is that when I first started shooting, we were on Canon DSLRs, and the Canon 24 to 70 was notoriously terrible. It wasn't very sharp, it was expensive, it was heavy and slow in low light, especially when the old Canon DSLRs didn't have the low light capabilities of recent cameras. Back in the day, which isn't that long ago with how fast cameras evolve, shooting fast primes was all the rage. They were everything the 24 to 70 wasn't. As our business grew, camera gear improved, and our needs expanded as well. We had to let go of old beliefs in order to determine what the best lenses for our needs are today. Am I working too hard to change my prime lenses all day long when the 24 to 70 is just as good now? Or do I really appreciate how compact those lenses are? Personally, the 24 to 70 is a game changer for video. When we started shooting more photo-video hybrid work, the flexibility of a zoom lens became more important than how lightweight the lenses are. If I'm just shooting photos, I might set up a 2-camera setup with 85 on one and 35 on the other. But that's less likely with a video setup where you have a microphone or a gimbal or other video accessories. So yes, I still shoot my 35, 50, and 85 primes, but I also shoot the 24 to 70. Mark and I seem to use the fact that we're a husband and wife team as an excuse to have more gear. But the reality is that we have different setups for different scenarios that we deal with. There's no such thing for us of having an all-in-one lens that can do everything we need it to do. Let's move on to some 24 to 70 lenses that I recommend. And by I mean Mark recommends. So for Sony, we recommend a couple of options. For the best quality, you'll want the 24 to 70 f2.8 G Master 2. For a more budget-friendly option, check out the Sigma 24 to 70 version 1 or 2. Avoid the 24 to 70 f4 from several years back. There are also some good 28 to 70 options that sound good, But going from 24 to 28 is actually a bit limiting and defeats the purpose of the versatility of this zoom lens a little bit for me. For Canon, you are a bit more limited if you're using the latest mirrorless RF mount. There's currently only one option, the 24 to 70 f2.8. If you're on another brand or want a specific lens recommendation for your needs, leave a comment below and Mark will get back to you. And that's the end of our phone a friend section. Let's come into the final thoughts of our video. To sum it up, the 24 to 70 is an incredibly versatile lens for any photographer. It's great for capturing everything from sweeping landscapes to tight, intimate portraits. And while it's not the absolute best for extreme background blur or ultra wide shots, it does a little bit of everything and it does it very well. It's the kind of lens I'd recommend for anyone looking for an all-around performer. If you're a wedding photographer, traveler, event shooter, this lens is definitely one to consider. It's fast, reliable, and works in almost any scenario. If you prefer the lightweight, compact prime lenses, you might end up with the 35-85 combo instead. In my next video, I'm going to talk more about how to determine which lens you need for your photography style and how to make these decisions on what's best for you. So be sure you're subscribed so that you're ready for that video. If you're thinking about adding the 24 to 70 to your gear collection or just curious about how to make the most of your lens, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Next up, watch my video on how to shoot with the 35mm lens, and I'll see you over there.